How do you spend your knife budget? What knives do you pick? Well, there is a lot of answers to that question. So there's no one good answer because everyone's different and there's a lot of criteria, even from day to day, just picking a knife out of the case. So let's turn this around. We're going to look at the things that I look for in a knife. One of the most important categories you're going to look at is use case and scenario. So you want to have a knife that is fit for the job you intend to do. If you're gonna use a knife, you gotta have the right one. It's just like the right tool for the job. You're not gonna use a hammer to open a jar. Well, I mean, most of you wouldn't use a hammer to open a jar. You don't want a knife that isn't ready for what you're gonna throw at it. So for a bushcraft scenario, you want a knife that has a thicker blade stock and will stand up to the rigors of the camp, like this Mora. It's designed to handle heavy duty tasks like batoning wood, cutting tent stakes, and such without being damaged as easily. And it's something like cutting zip ties that's going to easily damage your edge, something that's a little thicker and has more resilience, especially if it's something you're going to have any lateral stress on. Your edge is going to hold up better because you've got thicker blade stock and it's designed for those rigors. For day-to-day cutting, you might want to choose something that's a little bit thinner and slicier. Like if you're just around the house and you're just going to be opening packages and cutting cardboard, this will excel at that because of the edge geometry and the blade stock thickness and things like that. So that is one of the first criteria that I look at is, what am I going to do with the knife? So let's move on to the next one. This next one is Ergos, and it's 100% one of the most important aspects of me. Tools have to be comfortable for you to use them, and a tool that you're not comfortable using or that's not comfortable in hand, you will shy away from. If I'm not doing a lot of cutting, I won't be as picky about the Ergos on a knife because it's just going to be something that's in my pocket for just a little bit. But absolutely, if I'm going to do a lot of cutting, it plays heavily in the choice of what I'm going to purchase or what I'm buying it for. A knife with a fuller handle, like this Trivesa Orion, is going to fill your hands better, and it's going to prevent a lot of fatigue. You would be surprised at how tired your hand will get when you do a lot of cutting. I do a lot of cut testing on knives that have fuller handles. My hand doesn't get as tired. When you have to squeeze down on a handle farther than you need to, like on this, even though it's a great little knife, you are going to fatigue those muscles. There's a lot more muscle engagement, especially if you're cutting harder materials. That additional force is also going to, it's going to cause some fatigue. And that includes where the pocket clip placement is in hand. You guys hear me talk about pocket clips a lot? That's where that comes from. The Ergos on that are really important. Like I said, if I'm not doing a lot of cutting, it's not going to be as important. Now, if you're going to be just opening a couple packages, an envelope, you can get away with a knife that is not as full in the hands. I really would have to do a lot of squeezing down to cut with this knife. And then you have something like this, which is really thin. It's still pretty comfortable, but these would not be the knives I would choose for a heavy cutting scenario. So there you go. Ergos, really important. The next one is materials, and there's a lot of reasons why the materials in your knife would be important. One of the biggest reasons that I look at materials is the environment you're going to be in. If you're in a wet environment and you're carrying a carbon steel knife in a really wet environment, you're probably going to have a bad time. You're going to wind up with a lot of corrosion. You can see just this knife right here already has some corrosion on it. You're probably going to want to stick closer to something that has a lot more rust resistance as opposed to D2, which will rust. You might want to stick closer to something like M390 that has a very good corrosion resistance. For a fixed blade, you might not want a leather sheath because it's going to get wet. You may want to stay away from wood handles. You may want to stick closer to something micarta and Kydex, because they are not going to get ruined anywhere near this quickly in a wet environment. So materials for your environment, that would be one I would look at. The next thing you want to look at is, what are you cutting? More abrasive materials will dull some steels faster than others, and you may want something with a blade steel like S90V, or maybe something like this. This is S45VN, really wear resistant, versus something like 154CM. 154CM will dull a lot faster than some of your other steels that are much, much more wear resistant. It's just a matter of, like, if you're just going to be cutting meat and vegetables, you can get away with that. But if you're going to be cutting something that is very wear resistant, like filter fabric or something like that, you're going to want to stick closer to something that is in the higher range of edge retention and wear resistance. So there you go. Material, what you're cutting, is a big, big thing. Now, this next one kind of plays into the first one. So you have to temper what you're thinking about for what you're cutting and the materials you're cutting with. I'm going to pull this out of the way. You may want to look at how you're going to be able to maintain that material. Some steels are really easy to maintain in the field. Some of them are not. AR-RPM 9 is very, very good at being maintained easily with a strop and things like that. So are some of the other softer steels. Will some of these harder steels like M390, will they hold their edge much longer? Yes. But the problem is that they are much more difficult to sharpen. And so when they start to get dull, there's a lot of time lost in bringing that back up. Some things, like I said, AR-RPM 9, respond really well to a strop and a hone. These don't do as well and require a little bit more work. So depending on how much time you have, how much time are you going to lose when that knife does get dull? That's something that should play into your decision when you are going to purchase these items.
Know that no one likes to watch ads in the middle of a video. I don't like putting them in, but I do know that I gotta support what I do here, so I partnered with companies that I know I can trust. And today's sponsor is Coffee Brand Coffee. They're delivering quality coffee, freshly roasted on demand, ground to order and delivered to your door, and they're not doing anything political, so you don't have to worry about a company that you're supporting that is supporting causes that you might not agree with, because they don't support any causes. They just simply take the money and put it back into making a better product. So I would appreciate if you both support their new small business and my channel by checking out Coffee Brand Coffee and looking at their offerings. Use the link below and my coupon code Crazy Sharp on their website. It's Crazy Sharp, all one word, capital C, capital S. Let's get back to this.
So this last one is carry options. And it just kind of runs down to there's 3 different things that come into your carry options. So it can be broken down a little bit. What are you able to carry? And if you know this, then you're going to be able to pick an item. Legality, what are you allowed to carry? Can you carry a fixed blade or a knife over 3 inches? You know, you might want to stick closer to something. Are you restricted to something, like if you live in England, you can't have locking knives. You may have to stick with something like this. Are you legally allowed to carry a switchblade? All those things are going to play into what you're allowed to carry. So you're going to want to limit to yourself to something that falls into those rules. And with legalities comes the next category, which is social norms. Are you going to carry this cold steel double-edged fixed blade combat knife in a suit and tie in an office scenario? No. Would it be legal? Possibly. You could probably carry, here in San Diego, you do not have a restriction on length. You could carry this in a suit and tie if you wanted. Would you break a lot of social norms? Yes. What that is it's going to get you attention you don't want. So staying within those social norms is also going to be something that is in your determination of what you're going to carry. If you work in an office where people would flip out if you carried something that was bigger than this, you may not want to. Are you breaking any rules? No, but you want to stay within those social norms. And then the final thing is, how are you going to carry that knife? Is this something you're going to throw in a pack or in your pocket? Are you carrying it on your belt? How are you going to carry it? That's going to determine what kind of knife you're going to pick, because I could much easier throw this in my pack with a bunch of other gear than I could throw it on my belt. So those are the things that just really play into it. So we're going to turn this around, do some final thoughts, send you out about your day. But
there you go. There's just the things that I look at, and I think most people are going to look at it the same. It's just going to be a different decision on what the final knife is. And there's no wrong answer. And if you note, I did not mention price, because at this point in the knife world, there are so many knives that are available. You're going to find something that meets your requirements in your budget. You just got to look a little harder. I will put links to most of the knives you saw down below in the video, the big ticket ones. So guys, that's pretty much it on this one. I just thought this would be a fun video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I'll try and make an intriguing and fun thumbnail and title. But if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like it, give it a thumbs down, but please try to tell me why. I can't change content if you don't tell me what you don't like. If you want to support the channel, I talked about Coffee Brand Coffee, but I have 2 other sponsors. Tempered Trail and Coffee Brand Coffee both share a coupon code of Crazy Sharp, all one word with capital C, capital S. But the Coffee Brand Coffee link is already set up with it built in. So if you click on that, I also have Doll Strong knives. If you're looking for good kitchen knives and you don't know where to go check out their website. They have one of the largest selection of kitchen knives that are very, very good, really good warranty. All of their stuff that they've sent me has been great. If you want to do it another way, I have an Amazon store down below. Anything you purchase through that Amazon store supports the channel. I also have a tier-based membership where everyone gets early access to my videos. Everyone gets access to my Gilded server, which is just like Discord where we hang out and everybody talks. There's knife trade. There's all kinds of stuff that goes on there. Never a dull moment on that Gilded server. Baseline and premium tier members are automatically into the giveaways that I do that are separate from the giveaways that I do on YouTube. And the premium guys have access to a sharpening tutorial series here on YouTube behind the paywall. Guys, that's it on this one. I love you all. Keep it clean in the comments section. I hope you got a little bit of something from this. If it's your birthday, happy birthday. And I'll see you in the next video.